everyone, today my guest is just like me, a passionate scuba diver. She is also an avid traveler, a successful blogger, a newlywed, congratulations on that by the way, and last but not least, she is the founder of the largest online community of female scuba divers, aka Girls That Scuba. Being one of the 10 ambassadors this year, I have to thank you for choosing me as one of them. Very happy to chat with you today, Sarah Richard.
Oh, thank you, Julia. That's so sweet. That's lovely. I'm happy to be here and I'm excited to be on your channel amongst all the other amazing guests you've already interviewed.
Thank you. So let's start off with a bit of background. You took your first breath underwater when you were 19 in the Maldives, literally one of the top 3 dive destinations on my bucket list. You're so lucky. When I found out about that, I couldn't help but wonder, it must have taken a lot to top that first experience, right?
Yeah, I mean, so, you know, my story goes, as you just said, like I did it when I was 19, and the Maldives then, which is about 15 years ago, it wasn't as popular and like as expensive and as luxurious as it is now. So when I tell people that, they're like, wow, like that's crazy that you went at 19, but actually it was from England, it was like a direct flight and it really wasn't too expensive. And that first experience really was what launched me into like my passion of diving. But it wasn't like, you know, that mind-blowing kind of dive that maybe you think of when you think of the Maldives. We didn't see like a ton of like sharks or manta rays or anything like that, but it was more just the experience of, you know, taking a breath for the first time and just being introduced to, you know, scuba diving and just being like, wow. So I definitely have been able to top it like marine life wise, but of course like that first breath is just such a special moment. But yeah, it just basically lit my passion and it made me completely change like how I traveled from there on. I would always be like, okay, I'll go here because I know it's a good dive destination. And then organically, I guess, you know, it develops then into being more involved in the industry, understanding more, and eventually realizing through, you know, kind of probably what 6 or 7 years of diving, like without thinking about the community or anything, just realizing that there was quite a lack of like female representation. So I guess that did start from that first day. I mean, my instructor was male, the only other people there were male, but at that time I didn't realize that, you know, that was a thing in diving. I didn't realize that there was a lot of guys.
So Girls at Scuba has its own private Facebook group, and being one of the members, I see how varying the topics are. More than 58,000 women exchange their tips, advice, and experiences daily. Can you remember what was the very first question a member asked when you started it?
That is such a good question. Nobody has ever asked me that. That's really good. I don't. God, I wish you asked me before because I would have researched. I would have found out, but I will find out for you actually, and maybe you can leave it in the comments of your YouTube. I will find out what the first question was, but I don't think I can remember.
Okay, well, there are so many topics now, and it's really incredible to see how many people engage in the interaction. So the community has kept expanding with new branches opening online like Girls That Freedive, Girls That Tech, or Mums That Scuba, to name a few. Why did you decide to make subgroups? Why not one group to incorporate all topics?
Another good question. I think because scuba diving is quite broad, like there's so many different parts of it, and I guess when you initially think of scuba diving, you just think of like trying it out, going underwater, seeing amazing animals. And for many people, that's kind of how it stays. And that's brilliant. You know, you try scuba diving, maybe you go like vacation and, you know, you do scuba diving once or twice a year and that's brilliant. But then I think obviously I was very much involved in like the more in-depth like part of scuba diving and realizing like how many more courses there are that you can do, how many more kind of like offshoots of scuba diving as we know. And I think I wanted to make sure that everyone was involved, yet nobody felt like it was too much, or like, oh, like, you know, like, yeah, tech diving, but I don't actually want to know about that, which is absolutely fine. So if you did want to know about tech diving, you could jump over to Girls at Tech Dive, where you could really talk in depth about tech diving and not kind of have that main group and I guess just kind of like ostracize anybody. Everyone feels like they can be involved in all conversations, and if they want to dive in more free diving, you know, tech diving, then there's another group for even more information. I guess I just always wanted everyone to feel involved, yet everybody have a place where like their extra passion and interest can also be involved in.
When did you start freediving yourself?
I started free diving in 2019, I think. And yeah, I think I've been scuba diving for like 10 years, and then I started free diving. And honestly, like free diving like completely changed my life. Like it is such an incredible experience, free diving. And I think that I went in quite naively thinking that like, oh, I scuba dive, so like I'm gonna know how to free dive. But it's almost like a miscommunication, I guess, that like scuba diving and free diving are the same, because they're like plopped into this like common ground, but they're not at all. And so I quickly realized that like really my skills in scuba diving didn't really transfer over, and I was starting something completely fresh and something completely new for the first time. And I loved that feeling, because I hadn't had that feeling in my life really, like with my passions and my hobbies, since I started scuba diving like that 10 years before. So it was really exciting for me, because it was like I discovered a new hobby and a new passion.
So the first mission of Girls at Scuba was to bring together women, as you said, from the newbies to the most experienced scuba divers online, and later on in real life too. So in 2019, you started organizing dive trips around the world to meet up and, of course, dive with your fellow female divers. We need to talk off the recording after this, because I'm struggling to gather young people or divers just for a beach or reef cleanup here. So you need to tell me your ways. But anyways, that must be quite a trip to organize. Who came up with trip ideas first? Was it some of your members or was it your idea?
Yeah, so it came from demand from members actually, which is such a great kind of organic way for it to have been born. You know, the members wanted to start meeting up, and we're like, hey, like why don't we like go diving together, and why don't we do like a little dive holiday together? And people would like reach out to me and be like, we'd love to do it, you know, let's do like a Girls at Scuba one. I'm like, okay, sure, like why not, let's, you know, let's discover this and see if it works out, see if enough people are interested. And of course, as the community grew, like everybody wanted to come on the Girls at Scuba trips. So yeah, it definitely came from the members, and it was very new for me as well. It wasn't something that I had experience in or anything. So logistically, it was like a massive learning curve. I had to figure out how to host trips abroad with a bunch of women, you know. So but luckily, like it's obviously not something completely new in the industry, so a lot of like my peers and friends in the industry like really helped out and let me know kind of how to do it. And yeah, it's been, you're right, it started in 2019, but obviously 20 and 21 were COVID, so we really only had that first year, and then we managed to start doing them again at the end of last year. So yeah, it's still very new, but it's so exciting, and it's definitely one of my favorite parts at the moment, because I get to travel and I get to meet the community, you know, actually meet the girls that have been part of Girls at Scuba like from the beginning, which has just been amazing.
I would love to go to one day, someday. Eventually, I will join one. So what should I expect if I ever join one during these trips? Is it all about diving only and free times in between? Or are there like activities or visits together as well?
Yeah, so every trip is different. Like we want to make sure that there's like a variety of trips, because definitely understand that not all divers are the same level, same certification. Not all divers want to dive 5 dives a day. Like some want to dive 5 dives a day. So it's very much like finding like a balance, everything in between. But the liverboard trips, I would say, are very dive orientated, of course. Like you're on the boat, you're there for 7 days, and you're diving as much as you can, really. I mean, obviously you can miss out dives whenever you want. And you know, so we usually find on the liverboard trips we'll get like advanced divers and above, who really want to do a lot of diving, but also want to meet like other women from the community. We also do mixed trips as well, so it's not just women. And then we've got kind of like jumping over to the other side, we've got the like free diving retreats for like women that have never even free dived before, preferably like never ever even tried it. That's kind of like where we're aiming, so that we can kind of like put them through this like transformative journey into like they're always scuba divers first, like scuba divers to free divers, kind of based on like my experience of first finding free diving and realizing like how amazing it was. So then again, that's complete beginners. And then we've got like the Red Sea Jordan trips, which are a really great mix of both. So it'll be like 3 days diving and the rest of the days exploring. And we find with those ones, like every single person doesn't know each other. Everyone comes alone and they like come to meet other women, and it's just always such a fun group of girls, and it's great like exploring like wonders of the world as well as like diving in the Red Sea. So yeah, we try and do something for everyone, but it's still new, you know, we're still getting there.
Yeah. How do you pick the location of these trips?
To begin with, it's just been places that I have dived a lot and I've loved. I mean, I feel very strongly about only taking women, especially women that are traveling alone, places that I know are safe and that I have experience with and like know people. You know, a place like Jordan, a lot of people's first question is like, is it dangerous? And I've been lucky enough to spend nearly 7 years like back and forth of Jordan. I lived there for a little bit, so you know, I really kind of rely on my experience and my contacts, people I know in the destinations, to feel comfortable to bring other women, which of course is quite limiting because I haven't been everywhere in the world. But I definitely like to host these trips in places that I know are safe and that I know women are going to love, and the diving's great as well.
So how many trips did you manage to do before the COVID hit? And how many do you plan to do per year now that people can fly again?
I think we maybe did like 8 before
Wow.
this all happened, like international trips. So we do like, you know, like 1-day events and stuff like that, a meetup. So then that's not included in the international trips. And do you know what? I think in the midst of COVID, I was like wanting to make sure we had a plan every year for like X amount of trips. But I feel like now I very much learned that, you know, life doesn't always go to plan. So we don't have a set amount of trips that we will do each year. But for instance, this year, like we've already got like Maldives, Egypt, Mexico. We just did Cocos Islands. We're doing Galapagos. So there's probably about another 8, 6 to 8 each year. But you know, who knows? I mean, we can do more, we can do less. But I'm very much about just like allowing life to take us where it needs to go.
Let's talk a bit about the store online, where we can find some very cool merch as well as a wide choice of dive accessories. I personally love poncho in microfiber with the whale shark pattern and the dive card holder. What would be your top 3 favorite items from there?
Oh, I thank you. I'm glad that you like it. And again, a little side note, but again, like that purely came from demand from members. Members wanted to, you know, get like hoodies and t-shirts and stuff like that with the Girls at Scuba logo, and I was like, okay, let me find out how to do that. Again, it wasn't like I had no experience in setting up a store or finding products, so that's been like a massive learning curve. But it makes it very enjoyable because, you know, it's come from demand, and like it's really great like giving the girls what they want. My favorite is, yeah, I'm all about the whale shark print. I just love all of the whale shark print stuff. But the first ever products, and still my favorite, are the mask straps, because they just make it so much easier to get your mask on and off. And I just feel like, I mean, everyone needs a mask strap cover, you know.
I have one right here.
There we go. I'm sure I have some. You know, it's not like you need hair for it. It's just that horrible silicone on a mask. Like just putting that on your hair or your head or anything is just not the one. So yeah, the mask strap covers are like very, very handy.
What's the best selling product from that store?
The mask strap covers, yeah. I think because like everybody needs it. It's not like, you know, yeah, I think for the community it's a really great product, because when you're diving in like a popular location and you see another girl with the Girls at Scuba mask strap, you're like, hey, it's kind of like our international kind of like you know, language is like, oh, you're part of Girls at Scuba, and you come back on the boat and you're like, oh my gosh, you know, if anyone's got the mask strap on the boat, it's such a great like icebreaker, like conversation point. So I think a lot of our members have it to kind of show they're part of the community.
So as I was saying, there are a lot of good shopping to do there, and I have to mention the plastic-free packaging, of course, because I'm all into conservation. Was it an obvious decision since the beginning to go plastic-free?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, for me, it was completely obvious. But it was actually quite hard for us to get to source plastic-free packaging. So, you know, the kind of way that online stores work is that you can like hire a company to do the packing for you and send it, and then they would use their own packaging. So I was kind of looking into that, and I was talking to one company, and like I think we were like days away from launching the store, and they just like said like, we just can't do this plastic free, like we can't do the packaging, any of the insets, anything. And I was like, well, then we just can't do this. So I completely cut it off, and it set us back like 6 months maybe. And I realized the only way that we could do it, like the way that I'd want it to be done, is if we do it ourselves. So yeah, I started doing it myself. I was like packing everything, and make, you know, sourcing plastic free. I feel like now it's so much easier. I think that most companies use plastic free packaging. But that really has only happened in the last probably, I think I've had the store like 4 years, you know, so you can see the like drastic demand, and that change in the last 4 years has been really, really good. So I'm glad that we're all at a point now where it's accessible to have plastic free packaging.
Wow, I have to applaud that. That is definitely dedication for plastic free packaging, to package it all yourself. Additionally, people can purchase memberships on the same online store. The system is you pay once to get the member card that has no expiration date. It's a lifetime card. This card gives you discounts in hundreds of dive centers, literally all around the world, live aboard trips and brands. Do you know how many partners joined the program? I read there were more than 250 live aboards, and I counted almost 50 brands, and I stopped counting for the dive centers, but I did see 2 in Malaysia. So do you know how many there are?
I think there's like over 200 dive centers, and as you said, like liveaboards, like 100. Yeah, brands probably 50. You're pretty good with your stats. Yeah, and it was kind of just designed because people started reaching out to us and saying like, oh, can we offer your members discount, like you know, like can, if they come here, can I have discount? And we started to get quite a lot of that, and I just thought, well, if we put that into one centralized place, then the members that are interested in that can get that. You know, again, it's very much like this community of I never want to like push something on somebody. If they want discounts, they can go and get it from the membership. If they don't, then they need to get it, rather than like, I never wanted to use the group as like a place to like offer discounts, because the group's about scuba, you know, for those discounts if people want them.
Yeah, it's definitely a great deal, I think. Let's wrap it up with a quick sort of, it's not really a quiz, but like a Q&A to know a bit more about what kind of diver you are, Sarah. I mixed some of my questions with some questions that I saw were asked in the groups. So are you ready? Giant stride or back roll?
Back roll.
Shore dive or boat dive?
Boat dive.
Yeah, I do only boat dives. Land-based or liveaboards?
Liveaboard, definitely.
Front zip on the wetsuit or back zip?
Oh, good one. I think front zip, actually. I think it's a bit easier for women.
This one I can't pick between them. Wreck dive or cave dive?
Yeah, that's true, actually. They're quite I'm gonna say wreck dive. Yeah.
And finally, for a newlywed diver's honeymoon, since you had your honeymoon recently, would you personally go to Bali, Cambodia, Vietnam, or Thailand?
Well, if it's for diving, I would go to India. Yeah, Bali. So then you can hop around the islands and do some amazing diving.
I went to Bali, I went diving to Bali, and my mother was snorkeling at the surface, and she could see me way all the way at the bottom. It was incredible. She said it was the best snorkeling of her life. So yes, Bali is definitely a nice one. So thank you very much, Sarah, for joining me today. I know there was an amazing team working with you, so well done to them as well. You are all doing a fantastic job to promote diving and empower girls and women at the same time. All the best to all the girls at Scuba. I really hope we will get the chance to dive together one day. Meanwhile, take care and happy bubbles wherever your next dive takes you. Bye.
Oh, thank you, Julia. Thank you so much. Well, I want to say thanks to you as well. Thank you for being such an amazing ambassador and such an amazing role model to all young divers. I definitely think that you are the future of diving, you and your age group, and I think that you've got so much to come and so many exciting things. Keep like wishing and dreaming of these like dive kind of
Yes,
goals, because
so
you will
many.
get there. And
My
when you
bucket
get there,
list is endless.
yeah, when you get there, you'll be like, oh, I remember when I was this old wanting to do this, and it will come and it will be really special.
Thank you. Thank you for watching today's interview. I'm truly inspired by Sarah's dedication to help women and girls find their happy place in the diving world. Let's all remember that regardless of our gender, supporting each other will always be the way to grow stronger. I hope you enjoyed this interview. See you next time. Bye.